okay, now I'm not comfortable. Okay, my office is shut and it's hemorrhaging money. My teaching business is shut and hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
I can't deliver the training. What the hell am I going to do? And so I sat there for 7 days, from the 5th of March until the 12th of March. Sat at home, everything shut, felt sad and depressed and, sitting there sucking my thumb. And then I said, okay, enough of this. I'm either going to go big or go home.
You're listening to the Foundation Dental Podcast, strategic conversations for dentists and leaders building long-term value in dentistry. I'm Dr. Jim Arnold. Let's get into today's conversation. Today's guest is one of the most innovative minds in modern dental education. Dr. Lincoln Harris is the founder and CEO of Ripe Global, a company that's redefining how dentists learn about simulation, technology, and competency-based education. From practicing in a small town in coastal Australia to building a platform used by thousands of clinicians around the world, Lincoln has challenged nearly every assumption about continuing education. If you've ever wondered what the future of dental learning looks like, or how better training translates into better patient care and stronger practices, then this conversation is for you. Hey man, it's good to see you, Lincoln.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. And I think we're in the post-educational world, so ask me about that later.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear about that. You sound like a futurist now.
Yes, I need to wear Hawaiian shirts or something more eccentric. I need to grow a goatee and have some sort of more eccentric airs.
Hey man, it wouldn't surprise me next time I see you if you've got like a ZZ Top beard going and the whole vibe. I just saw you in Chicago last week for ADSO. Was that a good meeting for you?
Yeah, we had some good meetings there. And look, we don't turn up to everything. Certainly, if you're at a DSO meeting, there's a good chance we'll be there. Like I'm going to one in the UK in a couple of days' time. So, our focus is North America or Northern Hemisphere, but more specifically North America. But we currently work across 35 countries, so I get around a bit.
Wow, you do? Yeah. Well, I mean, every time I see you, you're going somewhere else, and I never know what time zone you're in. But I think you're in England right now, right? In London?
I am in London right now and went to, I'm not a big enough tennis fan to go to Wimbledon myself, but if someone else is buying me tickets, I'll definitely go. I've actually never been to a profession, America's the land of opportunity. In a year and a half, I have been in America, but the things that have happened, I tell people I've had more opportunity in 1 year in America than the entire rest of my career. It's like bonkers. So, and one of the things that come out of that is that someone invited me to go to Wimbledon with them. I've never seen a tennis match, besides my friends playing in the backyard. I've never seen a tennis match in my entire life. So the very first one
is Wimbledon.
Is row A on court 1 at Wimbledon. So unfortunately, I'm ruined now. There's not much up from here.
Yeah, everything else is definitely a step backwards. That's been on my bucket list for a long time. My wife and I have been talking about doing the Wimbledon Tour de France, kind of double feature one of these days. But you got to do it already. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, good things happen in America. So.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that. I met you a couple of years ago at Dykema, and I was pretty blown away by your vision 2 years ago. Little did I know it would turn into what it is now, because people talk a good game, but you've actually delivered on that. But I think a year ago, you actually stumbled into my dining room and had dinner here at my house with a bunch of other dentists, and you said exactly that. I think you had just moved to Colorado within maybe the last 6 months, and you made that exact comment about how this is the land of opportunity and we should all be grateful to be here.
Yeah, well, I think if you're born here, you don't understand how much easier it is to do things in America than the rest of the world. When you move from the rest of the world here, it's definitely true. And now, obviously, I'm not maybe representative of the average person. I don't know, maybe I am. But if you're an energetic, ambitious, and driven person and you want to build something, there's still nowhere else that's even close. If you look at American history is very traumatic. It's not a smooth and tidy history. Most countries in the world have had less traumas. But I wouldn't say it's always a functional country. It's mild. It's like a large, extended, dysfunctional Italian family or something. It's like you got to get some hate mail now. That's so racist or something. But you know what I mean? You're all fighting all the time about a whole bunch of stuff. Despite all that, or maybe because of that, who knows? The ability to build things in America is unsurpassed anywhere in the world by several orders of magnitude. So if you're born here, be grateful. Say thanks.
Let's go back to the beginning, though. You grew up in Australia. How did that impact you? Like the entrepreneur and the dentist that you became from that background.
Actually, being in Australia is super important to what I do now because, I mean, there's some aspects of life you need to be a little bit messed up to be ambitious. So ambitious people are often trying to compensate for some childhood trauma of not feeling enough. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, so in fact, one of my investors called me up and said, "Why do you do this?" And I gave him like a nice canned answer, and then he said, "No, that's nonsense. Like, tell me a real answer." And he kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I finally said, "Look, like when I was a kid, my dad has never said that he's proud of me or that he loves me. I'm sure he is, and he does. He's just never been able to say it because he's of a generation, who knows what. I haven't had time to do psychology on him." Anyway, this investor goes, "That's perfect." He says, "I'll put the money in right now." Like he needed to know I was a bit messed up because like it's that type of mess up. So that's probably like, why am I so driven? My parents went bankrupt when I was about 10. Anyone who's ever seen enough of my presentations will see the one where I show the truck taking away everything that we owned. Growing up in a farming area when you were poor and bankrupt and couldn't have shoes like other people, you couldn't go on vacations like other people, you just lived in a house with no paint and an outside toilet. Just stuff like that. Like that gives you a hunger to be more, to do more. And strangely for me, because in Western countries, when you go bankrupt, you very rarely go hungry. Okay, big difference between like famine in some sub-Saharan country and being poor in a first world Western country. Like I think if you're on welfare in America or Australia, you're still in the top 1% of the world's population. So yeah, so that was like, why am I driven? But why am I doing the type of education, training, and multidisciplinary work that I do? That's also because where I lived, unlike most of America, there was not a specialist on every street corner.
Mm-hmm.
We had no specialist within 4 hours drive except an orthodontist.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, so you were really remote then. And I mean, that had to have a huge impact on how you started practicing as a young dentist.
So in Australia, that's not really remote. Like in America, the American equivalent of really remote is about 2 hours by Cessna from Anchorage into the wilderness. Okay. Like Alaska's the only place in America that felt a bit like outback Australia, even though it was cold with mountains instead of hot with deserts. So like the best way to think of it is that Australia is the same size as the 48 states, but it has the same population and economy as Los Angeles.
Unbelievable. Wow. That is sparsely populated, very large landmass. Wow.
Right. Yeah. So, and like you don't realize this when you live there, but the best example of it is I fly across America very frequently, as you well know. And when you look down at night in America, you always see lights.
Mm-hmm. When
you look down flying across Australia, most of the time you see blackness. So you might see a little tiny dot off on the horizon somewhere, but most of the time when you're flying at night, you just see blackness because there's nothing down there. So how did that affect me? The first problem was that I had to learn specialist skills because if I didn't, the patient lost their teeth.
Right. Huh. Yeah. Was that pretty typical of dentists in Australia? I mean, did you have contemporaries who were the same way? They just, by necessity, kind of learned all the specialties so they could provide the services?
To a certain level in the town we were in, yes. So like the main town where I lived was called Bundaberg. It's really only famous for rum, and in Australia it's famous for rum and ginger beer. And that's it. Like basically either karyogenic foodstuffs or alcoholic foodstuffs. So perfect for dentists actually, but in both sides.
Right, great for business. Yeah, and for after work.
Yeah. Your average high functioning alcoholic dentist, it's a sense of humor. It's not for everyone. There was, I think, more implant dentists per capita in this small town of 50,000 people than in most other parts of the state, at least. And the state of Queensland is like 2.5 times the size of Texas, so it's a pretty big state. Not a lot of people. So, but more to the point, things like if you needed a rehabilitation, the nearest prosthodontist was 3.5 hours drive. If you needed high-level endodontic treatment with a cast, post, removed, retreatment. The nearest endodontist was 3.5 to 4 hours away if you need it. But when I started, no one did soft tissue grafts, not even the specialists. Like back in, I started my practice in 2000. I started running ski conferences at Whistler and Vale, and then some luxury ones in Tuscany, 2006. Nice. And at the same time, I went on DentalTown. And on DentalTown, I don't remember Denny Melker. Okay, besides the fact that he's usually having a fight with someone, but in between having a fight with someone, he would produce these incredibly documented perio-pros cases with Howard Chaslin. And this blew me away. I'd never seen anything like it. So I actually started sending some cases to the periodontist, and the periodontist clearly had done almost no soft tissue grafts in his life. So the first few failed, and I don't think they were trained to do surgical perio much back in Australia in those days.
I'm sure not.
So I said to myself, I can't do worse. Like, I can't do worse than a failed soft tissue graft. But I didn't have time to go and visit Danny and do his whole course on soft tissue grafts. So I just looked at all his pictures online, and then I did one. And it worked. And it's still there to this day. Like, it's like 20 years that soft tissue graft has been there. And if you know anything about soft tissue grafts, they're the only things that don't wear out in dentistry. So that was really the start of me moving deeply into specialist courses, was being on DentalTown. So essentially, online learning has been essential to my DNA since 2006. Started the practice 2000. 2006, I came to America, did a high-level veneer course where I brought a patient. And then that taught me...
Lincoln, which one did you go to?
I always hesitate to say because it has a bit of baggage, but I went to LVI.
Okay. I took a couple courses there. I mean, I had a great experience.
Yeah, like the actual live patient training, if you were diligent, was excellent. If you were a bit sloppy, then they also gave you an excuse to be a high-volume sloppy dentist. I use the word sloppy as in, not putting much effort in. But what I learned from that is I spent $9,000 on the course, which was a fair bit back then. It was 2006. I spent about $5,000 or $6,000 on bringing myself and my patient to America twice. I spent a bunch of money on flights, on accommodation and car rental. I had to pay the lab bill as well because it was like my patient was my treatment coordinator. So it cost me in $2,006 about $20,000 or about 32,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah, so that is a huge investment. My God. And you start looking at that and thinking, man, like, how many more courses do I really want to go take there? Because I'm going to be $100,000 in before you know it.
Yeah, well, the thing I learned out of that is that if you do good hands-on training, your income can go up a lot. So my income went up. My gross revenue went up $300,000, which at the time was like 50%. So it went up 50% in the next 12 months. And and so that's when after that, I said, I'm not doing any course that's less than 2 days or $2,000. It was like my rule. If it wasn't hands-on, at least 2 days and at least $2,000, I wouldn't go because everything I'd been to that was cheaper wasn't worth doing.
Good point.
You go to a conference, like when do you go to a conference and your income goes up 50%?
Never. Never. Yeah, exactly. There's so much to be said for that, kind of access when you're one-on-one or in a small group like that, you just get so much more value out of it because you can ask all those questions and you get that personal attention from whoever is teaching.
Yeah, and it taught me because it's not inherent, and this is where a lot of DSOs struggle. It's not inherently obvious that clinical skills can lift your income so dramatically. My income, when I finished, if I was working full-time when I finished, I would have personally, besides my associates, I would have personally billed nearly $4 million a year. And because I had so many associates covering all the overhead, I would have had take home. And so part of what allows us to work with people in a business sense is that I understand if I can drive clinical performance at a very high level with advanced procedures, it increases the income of the dentist dramatically. You can triple it, quadruple it if you get the right procedure mix. So that is very important now when we're dealing with people who are business people going, you can actually increase your top line a lot without having more dentists or more chairs. So that was a big part of my growth. And then over time, we became multidisciplinary. So I still have an office in Australia, and in that office, if you want to work there, you have to commit to learning full mouth rehabilitation, implantology, and orthodontics. So every person has to learn all three. because it's like the holy triad.
Dude, that's phenomenal. I mean, that puts them in a position to provide just about anything a patient could possibly want. And when you're in the area that you're in, I mean, you've got that opportunity to be that one-stop shop for every patient in your town.
Yeah. And what's, I think, not always understood is that a specialist might be able to do each one of those procedures better and faster than a general dentist.
Okay.
But for an anxious patient, they can't, like an anxious patient doesn't want to go to 3 different people. It's very difficult for an anxious patient to go to one dentist and then to go through that same trauma again and again.
So once they have that established relationship, they feel comfortable. It's like you've got a good thing going, and then all of a sudden, wait, what? You can't do that? I have to do this again? Oh my God! And then they may or may not do it.
Yeah, and also like the anxious patients often don't go to the dentist for 10 or 20 years. So they're also the most profitable patients because they have the most problems to fix all at once. Like when they finally give you trust, they go, right, I got 20 years of damage. Like I got teeth missing, I got teeth broken, I got root canals, I got pus, I got everything. Okay, now I finally trust someone, fix it all. And there's often, because they're so anxious, they're also not price sensitive.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not going to price
shop. They're very motivated. They either want to get out of pain or they want things to look better. They want things to function better. And once they get past that fear part, it's like, holy cow, this is a whole new world. Let's go. And you know, it's funny, when I started doing sedation, you know, whatever year that was, it changed everything for me too. Because all of a sudden, you know, I was keeping everybody in. And, you know, within a couple of appointments, they didn't even need the sedation anymore. But it was just, that was the access that they needed to remove that fear.
That's right. Yeah. It's funny when I hear people say, I want to treat good patients. You go, what's your good patient? Oh, they come every 6 months and they brush their teeth and floss. And I go, well, that's like a terrible patient. You know, it's like, I want to be an oncologist for people who don't have cancer. Like, you know, if I'm an oncologist, I want the patients who are dying, not the ones who are living. Like, you know, there's not a big reason to do oncology if someone's healthy. And it's the same with it. And so this is some interesting, like getting both myself going through this journey of learning to not be judgmental. Mm-hmm. So helping other dentists do the same. So you can't be a great dentist if you are judgmental and you're projecting yourself onto the patient. So the psychology of being a great dentist is very complex, not well understood. So that's, you know, it's taken a long time to learn that, but we spend a lot of time basically being psychologists for dentists.
You know, as busy as you are with travel and building this, you know, global juggernaut, I'm going to call it, do you still do chairside? I mean, that's got to be difficult living in Colorado now, but you kind of manage the practice from afar. You have managers there taking care of things.
Yeah, I have a very good office manager in Australia and a good group of dentists, and you know, I don't practice chairside because I can't. So to practice in America, I would need to go and study a 2-year degree, like one of those transition degrees. I ain't got time for that. You know?
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Also because doing clinical work when you're trying to be a founder executive of what is essentially a tech platform is difficult because the mindset of being a clinician is not better or worse. It's just 180-degree opposite of being an executive. So as a dentist, you want to be very, very narrowly focused on the very highest level of personal perfectionism on a very small thing. Mm-hmm. And as a dentist, the more you calm and shut down your emotional sensitivity, the better you can do, particularly in surgery, because if you're sensitive to an anxious patient's emotions, it makes you anxious and they're anxious and everyone's anxious, and next thing it's a disaster. So as a dentist, you know, you narrow your focus, you shut off your emotions, and you are tunnel visioned on a tiny little thing. And that does not work as an executive of a large team of people.
Interesting. Huh. Boy, you nailed it. I've never thought about it in that light. But I mean, beyond just not having time to do both, it is a completely different focus.
Yeah. And also because the mindset is so different, there's actually a massive switching cost. So it would take me 1 full day to fully transition from my dentist mind to my executive mind. So if I worked 3 days a week, and there was one day where I was working, but like, first of all, dentistry, there's a very different level of intensity between dentistry and executive life. So executives So they're both kind of equally tiring, but in different ways. Executive life, you work much longer hours and often more days a week. So it's very common for executives to work 6 days a week, maybe Sunday afternoon, a little bit of Friday night, Saturday morning, whatever. They were at conferences. And then often their days start at 7 in the morning and go till 9 at night.
Sure.
Dentists don't usually do those hours because you can't. But dentistry, you burn your energy much more quickly. So if I'm doing like all on fours, I'm going to be like cooked by 7 hours. 7 hours of all on fours, I'm tired and I'm done.
Yep.
So it's more intense when you're doing it and you do it for less hours. And so so to switch from one to the other, I found if you go from 2 days a week as a dentist to 0 days, your executive time doesn't go from 3 days to 5. It goes from 2 days to 5.
Yeah. Oh man. You are absolutely right, Lincoln, because I think back to when I was a young dentist and practicing, say, 36 hours a week. I always used to say, I might as well be practicing 60 hours a week for the level of exhaustion I have, physically, mentally, all the conversations that you would have every single day. You come home and you don't want to have another conversation. But now, I've stopped practicing 6 years ago. Now, in my executive functions, the things that I can do, I can throw down an 80-hour week, without blinking. And I'm not as exhausted as I was from a 30-hour clinical week.
Yeah, the flip side is that when you're at a conference and you've done, 8 in the morning and then you've gone out for a few drinks with some people and then you've gone to dinner and then it's like 9:45 p.m. or 11 p.m. and you really must do that email before tomorrow. That's pretty tiring. You're sitting there at midnight sending an email. So I'm not saying that one is harder than the other. I'm saying that to flip backwards and forwards between being a clinical dentist and an executive is actually quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at training, just in dentistry at large, obviously the pandemic flipped things on their heads. You've got several years of graduates who didn't get a lot of, clinical training. Obviously, so that's a little bit of that's a blip. Maybe that's not common, but if you were to redesign a dental school, today, just starting today from the ground up, what would you keep? What would you throw away? What would you do completely differently?
So I would take a dental school from a very Western style of education to a very Eastern style. So Eastern style training, you get taught skill before you get taught understanding. In Western style education, we get taught understanding before we get taught skill. Okay, so an example of this is at dental school, you have to do a lot of theory before they let you pick up a handpiece, even on a plastic tooth. Now, I have proven over and over again that I can train a clean-skinned civilian to cut crowns faster than I can train a dentist.
Wow.
So now, is this because dentists are unskilled? No, it's because dentists have so much knowledge. The knowledge interferes with the technical training. Now, there's 3 things you're learning as a dentist. One is just knowledge. You need a lot of knowledge. I understand that. The second is a pure hands-on, hand-eye coordination technical skill, like playing the piano. Okay? So there is no way to develop a hand skill without repetitions. And you don't need to understand the repetitions to build the skill. So like in music, I used to do a thing, I don't know if you ever learned music, but there's a thing in learning the piano called Hennen exercises. They're just they're kind of like fancy scales. You just go up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's not nice to listen to. It's not a song. It's a repetitive, boring exercise that is designed to teach you to move your fingers over the keyboard very quickly and to do the transitions from thumb to, you go up 3 notes and then you run out of fingers and you have to flick your thumb over and grab the notes again and you go up 5 and then you get the point. So, and then similarly with flying a plane, the very first flight that almost everyone does who learns to fly is what's called a trial introductory flight. So you get in the plane, you go up in the sky, and then the pilot says, here, drive the plane for a bit. Okay? Because flying up in the sky is pretty easy. Anyone can more or less do it. It's not elegant.
You're not going to run into anything. You're probably not going to see a lot of other planes around, especially if you're in Australia, I guess.
Yeah, air traffic is it's very hard to run into another plane compared to another car.
Right.
Yeah, 3-dimensional space tends to, in America, there's I don't know how many, there's probably 100 million cars driving around every day. There's probably at most a couple thousand. There's probably 5,000 planes flying around the US at any given time, and they're in three-dimensional space. So your likelihood of running into someone, even if you've got your eyes closed, is pretty slim. So you are taught the skills practically at the same time as you're learning the theory. And you drill the skills. And maybe another example is, like, I haven't been in the Marine Corps, but if you join the Marine Corps, you go through boot camp, and then you go through, initial training. And as part of your initial training, they teach you things that don't seem related. Like, why do they teach you to polish your boots and make your bed? They're teaching attention to detail. Mm-hmm. So if I was to design a dental school, I would make the dental students sit down in the sim lab or whatever. I mean, there's a bunch of other things. I'm not going to tell it because I actually would like to build a dental school. I'm not ready to raise the capital yet.
Don't give everybody else a playbook, man. This is your playbook.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things I won't tell you about. But if I was to redesign dental school, I'd make the dental students sit in the sim lab for 1 to 2 months right at the start and cut hundreds and hundreds of teeth until you can train a civilian to do a nice crown prep in about 1 day. Yeah. If they're not overwhelmed with knowledge.
Wow, dude, that's huge. I think back to my first semester of dental school, and you're just getting bombarded with so much stuff, and it's overwhelming, and 26 credit hours and all these things. And you're learning in the lab to cut teeth. And I've told this story before, but my first semester, man, operative lab, I was awful. Like, I never had played a musical instrument. I did not have that hand-eye coordination down. But I tell you what, Christmas break, I got tired of not being good at it. And I literally, in about 3 days, I did that. I mean, I cut 100 teeth. I did all those things. And, second semester, I was number 2 in my class. And so you're right. It's a skill that can be learned through repetition.
Yeah, and actually, one of the drawbacks with modern dental schooling is that skill is actually seen as much less important than the intellectual side of dentistry. So, and you'll hear people say things like, you don't want to be like, a monkey could do a crown. This is not true. A monkey couldn't do a crown.
Not yet.
No, I mean, maybe you get a robot to do it soon, but the intellectual side is much more heavily valued because, I don't know, actually. It's like all these people go, I want to be a physician of the mouth. Like, it's like saying, I don't want to do procedures, but I've entered a procedural profession. It's like, I want to be a physician of orthopedics. Like, that's dumb. It's like this is a surgical profession. If you don't like surgery, go do physical therapy or something. Like, this is a surgical profession. We cut stuff. If you don't want to cut, then maybe go do something else. So yeah, if I did dental school, I'd make them learn all the skills before I taught them any knowledge, because people learn the skill faster if they don't have much knowledge.
You mentioned that a lot, kind of comparing dentistry to aviation and how the training is and everything. And I've heard you say, if pilots got trained like dentists, they'd be crashing a lot of planes, right?
Yeah, they'd all be dead. Like you think about, I think that I did 17 or 18 hours of flying before I had to go solo. So do a flight on my own, which is just a circuit. You basically take off, go around in a circle and land again. We would have spent a bunch of hours flying, and then we spent probably 5 or 6 hours just repeating landings and takeoffs over and over again. Okay, you just come in, you land, full power, takeoffs, go around. Like, when a plane does it for you now, like it's United Airlines does it, go around, you get excited because you nearly crashed into something. So, but yeah, we just practice that again and again and again. And then one day the instructor said, okay, you're good. And he hopped out. And of course, that you don't get to do like a 3-hour class 2 when you're a pilot, because if you fly a plane too slowly, it crashes. The wings can only go so slow. So you have to fly at full speed the very first time you fly. And in fact, you fly faster than usual because you take the heavy instructor out. And in little planes, the plane takes off about 100 yards quicker. So it's like the fastest circuit you've ever done is the first one where there's no instructor. It's like, oh my God, it's happening so quickly. But probably the more important thing I learned from aviation is a thing called human factors. So you study aviation psychology very deeply. It's part of every curriculum, even for a basic pilot's license. You study human factors. The human factors were learned largely in World War I when they invented planes that started shooting each other. And so they had this problem in World War I that it's actually, the whole field is called human factors and ergonomics. The two go together. So what they discovered is when you're relaxed, it's very easy to do something. So if you learn something when you're relaxed, okay, you can do it. When you get stressed, you lose about 85% of your cognitive function. And so if you can only just do something when you're relaxed, you actually can't do it when you're stressed. So why does the Marine Corps make you strip the rifle down and put it back together and practice undoing a jammed, bolt again and again and again until it's so boring and predictable and automatic in your brain? It's because if you, like, I could teach anyone to strip a rifle down and put it back together once. Like, you just do one repetition. They go, oh, I can do it. And they're sitting there fiddling around. But if you start firing a machine gun over their head, most people will no longer be able to accomplish whatever task they're doing. Like if I say that, hey, Jim, you've got the weed eater out, you're doing your nice edges around the lawn. I'm just going to sit here and quietly fire a 50 caliber machine gun 1 foot above your head. Just ignore me. It's perfectly safe. We've got it set so it can't hit you. You will find cutting a straight line really, really difficult with your weed eater.
I think you're right. I'm not going to try it, but I think you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I mean, we came down with Timothy Camp, and Timothy Camp has more guns than the average gun store. So we could all actually try this if you want to. But anyway, you just take my word for it. If someone's shooting at you, it can be very difficult to do basic tasks.
So cognitively, just being under stress, like obviously not that much stress in everyday life, that's going to have a huge impact on you, whether you're flying a plane or trying to cut a tooth.
Yeah, and the thing to ask yourself is, do a lot of dentists find dentistry stressful, particularly when it all starts going wrong? And the answer, of course, is yes. So when you're treating a patient and it's all smooth sailing, then fine, it's easy. Okay, and you go to a course, right? You go to a course and they go, right, we're going to teach you how to do onlays for this new milling machine, and you cut one onlay prep, like you do a lecture. In the morning, they go, right, this is how you break the contacts. Okay, so you'll sit there and break the contacts, and then you have morning tea because it was exhausting. Okay, and then you have like the next lecture is this is how you do occlusal reduction, and you go home and you go back to the sim lab and you do occlusal reduction. So now you've taken half a day to do 2/3 of a prep. Okay, and then you're tired, so you have to have afternoon tea. Okay, and then you finish off the prep. So after 12 or 8 hours and 3 meals, you have now done successfully 1 prep on a plastic tooth in a patient with no saliva, no anesthetic, no gag reflex, and didn't say, I hate you, the moment they met you.
And it cost you $9,000.
And there was nothing about that trained you to do that. So when we teach them in their office. So we ship the mannequins to their office because we want to follow human factor principles, which is under stress, you lose your ability. So you have to train people until it's automatic.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're stressed, they can still do it because they don't have to think. So if we're teaching onlays, we want them, first of all, to be an environment that looks like the operatory, and there's nowhere like that except your operatory. And then number 2, we want to do massive repetitions so that it becomes automatic. Now, some dentists rebel against this because they're like, it's not intellectual and I'm a big deal and why do I have to learn preps? Putting aside that every person who stands up on stage to teach high-level dentistry still practices. How did they get those beautiful pictures of a prep? Because they still sit there on a Saturday sometimes practice it.
That's right.
Then how do you simulate an actual workday? Well, we don't generally stop for morning tea because we're not shipping that with the mannequins. The dentist's sitting there in their class, they're in their same operatory as usual, same burrs, same handpiece, same everything, same chair, same visuals. And they got one of our mannequins on the chair and they join a class and then we go, right, you're going to prep the crown. Now do it again. Now do it again. Do it 20 times. Mm-hmm. And after 20 times in a single day, most dentists improve their quality more than they lift their skills more than in all of dentist schools.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thinking back to March 2020, start of the pandemic, obviously that changed the world forever, but it changed your life forever. And I know that was I know you'd already been teaching, but in terms of changing things over from live courses to, this global digital platform, like practically overnight, like walk us through like those first few weeks, when you and your brother started talking about this.
Yeah, well, originally the teaching business was me. So we were so successful at teaching traditional hands-on, we were sold out 12 months in advance.
Wow.
So in September 2019, the whole of 2020 was sold out, which was terrific in 2019. It was a terrible idea in 2020. So I was on my second hands-on class of the year already. We were so organized. It was like March 5th, 2020. there's this virus thing. It's probably going to be like swine flu. It'll all blow over in like 6 weeks and everyone's overcooking it. And we flew out of Sydney after this hands-on course, and the border closed the next day. So you could no longer fly between states of Australia, and you could no longer you could fly out of Australia, but if you tried to get back, you had to go through 2 weeks of quarantine.
Yeah.
And you had to get special permission. So we basically, and then dental practices were shut. So my practice was shut. I had like nearly $2 million of pre-sold courses that were shut that I couldn't deliver. And I had been visiting different places around the world thinking I was ready to expand globally, and I was about to start building training facilities in multiple countries, but I was too comfortable to go through the pain of scaling. So what happened was I kind of had the desire to scale, but didn't really want to go through the pain and suffering.
Well, I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, like actually building, clinics in different countries while you're doing all the things that you're doing at home. I mean, that would have been extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah, I mean, probably not as difficult as what I'm doing now, but
Really?
I'd already sourced an office space in Prague, in Colorado. I was going to have, training center in the middle of America, one in the middle of Europe, one in Asia Pacific, starting there. And so that was in my mind already, but I was earning a lot of money and I was comfortable. It's like, do I really want to go through all this? It's like a lot of pain and suffering. So, and then of course, okay, now I'm not comfortable. Okay, my office is shut and it's hemorrhaging money. My teaching business is shut and hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
I can't deliver the training. What the hell am I going to do? And so I sat there for 7 days, from the 5th of March until the 12th of March. Sat at home, everything shut, felt sad and depressed and, sitting there sucking my thumb. And then I said, okay, enough of this. I'm either going to go big or go home. So I went back to work and I said, guys, I'm going to go big or go home. Who wants to be on this ride? And so we transitioned that day, basically 1 week into COVID. We decided to disrupt our own business. That means you essentially kill your original business to pivot to a new innovation.
Dude, that's a big deal. I mean, how did you make that decision just 1 week into this shutdown? I mean, what didn't part of you think, oh, you know what, it's all going to open up again in a month or two and we'll be back to business as usual? I mean, that's a big pivot in a short period of time.
The way I saw it was, if this shutdown continued, because obviously you don't know how long it's going to shut down.
Mm-hmm. So
if this shutdown continues, I can't deliver all of the courses. I don't have the money to give back all the deposits. My practice, which normally subsidized, like I had two businesses that normally subsidized, whichever one was doing great would subsidize the other one.
Sure.
Both of them were done. So I basically sat there and thought, well, if I do nothing, I'll probably go bankrupt. So if I do something, I might go bankrupt, I might not. So, but I certainly wasn't going to just sit there and do nothing. So, we decided right there, 1 week in, we will pivot this whole business to a cloud-delivered training system somehow. And the first business plan, as you know, if you built like some sort of innovation business, the first business plan and the actual business, they don't.
Yeah.
This one's like a work of fiction. Okay, you pull this one out of your backside and you go, hey, it's a great idea. And then 5 years later, you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? So the first business plan was we would have those same 3 facilities, Prague, Denver, Sydney, and we'd have all the theory online. And what happened was 6 months went by and everything's still shut. So September, right? Okay, and the cash balances are going, we'd raised some capital, but in hindsight, so as you probably know, more venture capital gets deployed in the Bay Area of California than the entire rest of the world combined.
Yeah.
It's over 50%.
Yeah, yeah.
And 85 or 90% of all venture capital in the entire world is deployed in America.
Is that right?
So,
I didn't know it was that high. Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that. And the venture capital market in the town of 4,000 people in coastal Queensland is actually very small.
Really?
Yes, shocking news.
No way.
So I had no idea. I mean, I didn't even know what a seed, a Series A, Series B, all this. I had no idea. Had no idea what a term sheet was. Never heard of one. Didn't know what a shareholders or stockholders agreement or bylaws. No idea about any of this. I just said, we'll figure it out. we're going to raise capital. I had a friend who'd raised capital. That was the total extent I knew of it. I knew the word and that he'd done it, and it seemed pretty cool. What I learned later is the story people tell you and the reality are not always the same. So later, as I got to understand, later on, he said it was so goddamn hard, and then it was like horrifically painful, and you get rejected 100 times for every invest, all this stuff. Okay, so
great.
If I'd known all that, I might not have done it. So I was blissfully ignorant.
I was just gonna say, thank God you didn't know that. You just kept going, man.
Yes. Oh my God! Like I can't tell all the stories on here. But,
next time we'll do this at like 9 o'clock in the evening. Have a cocktail or two. Loosen up the tongue a little bit because I want to hear the rest of it too, man.
Yeah, maybe enough NDAs have like faded. So anyway, so that was the start, and so by September we're basically going. If we can't travel still 6 months later. People starting to really clamour for refunds.
Of course.
If we don't find a way to deliver this training, we are going to go bankrupt for sure. So I'm not saying that everyone should rely on nearly bankrupt to generate innovation. I'm just saying that.
But it is the necessity is the mother of innovation or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can make hard decisions when your back is against the wall that you would normally avoid.
I hear you, man.
So we were basically sitting there and we said, look, we need to, if we posed the question, it was actually my co-founder who posed this, if no one could ever travel again, how do you teach a hand skill-based procedure? So that was the idea. We had this big workshop. We went through VR. Okay, everyone, as soon as you say this, you're going to have VR and haptic feedback. Yeah, so we thought of that. And then we decided most people wouldn't pay $1 million for a course. So that probably wasn't.
You might be right. I'm not sure there's a big market for that, but
yeah, I think price elasticity says most courses tap out, below $100,000. So unless they're a degree,
but it's a great idea anyway.
So then, we got all of these mannequin manufacturers from all over the world. We had hundreds of samples just from everywhere. We had them all laid out. We tried them all and the quality versus the price and hand pieces and blah, blah, blah. And within about 2 weeks, we had some type of system that we could manufacture. And but that's not the hard part. The hard part is how do you actually make it work as a class?
Yeah, right.
We started out with cameras mounted on the head, but you can't get high enough quality unless it's a $5,000 camera. And the trick with technology is it has to be good or better than the current thing, but it also has to be cheap. You can't have if an iPhone was $10,000, you're not going to use it. Yeah, and when iPhones came out, they were I think they were more expensive than other things, but they weren't hideously more expensive. So that's the balance, is how do you deliver a great experience, really, really powerful, life-changing skill development and do it at a lower cost than current methods. And that's, so that was September. We ran a course. We sold about $1 million of that course in the first few months.
No kidding. This is in 2020. This is still during the shutdown in Australia.
Yeah, it took us 2 weeks. It took us 2 months to develop the platform, the mannequin system, get it working. We had a Frankenstein platform. We had Zoom attached to HubSpot CRM, attached to Loom, you just join about, and people are doing it now. I see people now trying to build online things. They're doing the same thing. I go, you go, it reminds me of the good old days. Join 3 or 4 platforms. The problem with that is you don't own any of the data.
Right. So what did you do? I mean, did you build your own platform?
Yeah. So
I'm not all that familiar with it. Tell me about that. That's a huge endeavor.
Yeah. So got the mannequins going, got the courses going. We sold the education. We ran it, and then it was good, but we realized that it could be more. So then I sort of tried to have 1 foot in the CEO role and 1 foot in clinical dentistry because I didn't want to give up the safety of clinical dentistry. And then 2024, it became obvious that I had to be a full-time CEO. So I quit clinical dentistry 2024.
Okay.
And then we worked out we needed software that was our own. And we needed software that's purpose-built for teaching procedures at global scale. And you can't buy any. No one makes it. So what you do is you get like structured course program like Canvas. It's designed for universities, and then you get something like Kajabi is designed to run video libraries, and then you get a CRM to sit underneath it. It kind of like does all the single sign-on and the customers' names, and then you get Loom and you get Zoom. You got all this stuff, and you just like join it all together. It doesn't work properly. You don't own any of the data. Mm-hmm. So 2024, I said, okay, we need to build our own, and everyone was umming and ahhing and we should plan, and like people find when people don't want to do something because it's scary, they very rarely say, I don't want to do this because it's scary. They will use words like, we've got to follow a correct procedure. We need to do a strategic plan. Like every marketing person who came up with a strategic plan, it was always nonsense. People who just got in and started doing stuff always did better. And then you have all these excuses. And finally I said, look, I want you to start and I want this turned around in 3 months. And then they built it.
Who built it? Who did you work with to do that?
We had 4 or 5 software engineers on staff.
Okay, nice.
So like they were building our Frankenstein platform, which we kind of built a little bit of software on the top of a CRM, on the top of all this other stuff, and all Frankenstein together. But you were never ever going to turn that into a nice to use platform because we didn't own it. We owned like it was, and we couldn't control the cost. Mm-hmm. It was all APIs. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we just said to the engineers, I want you to build our own platform. Now, I had no idea about software. I didn't realize what you probably should do. You'll see a trend here. So I just said, I want this done by like March next year. Okay. So they got in and it was really late. And then it was absolutely shit.
Oh my God.
So, and then we tried to like make it a bit better. And it was just such a struggle. Anyway, we have now got this massive re-engineering project going on. Because like, and now having talked to software people, they say you should get your MVP running because the only way to know what it should be is to start using it.
Minimal viable product, right?
Yeah.
For anybody listening who doesn't know what MVP is. Yeah.
Yeah. You build something. So
build the iPhone 1. You may have plans for the iPhone 20, but start with the iPhone 1 so you can get up and running and then start to iterate after that.
Yeah. I mean, iPhone 1 was a pretty sophisticated development, and to be fair, Apple had significantly more resources than us at the time. So, but yeah, like when Apple did the first thing, like the Apple IIe was probably more equivalent, or actually there was some stuff they did before that. So build something, put it out there, maybe not with everyone, put it out there with some customers, and then fix it because you won't know what to fix. And if you try and get it perfect first run, it's so incredibly expensive and slow.
Yeah. Done is better than perfect because you get it out there and get it going, and then you can make improvements from there, as opposed to thinking you're doing it all perfectly, and then you get out there and guess what? It's not perfect. You're still going to have to, iterate and fix things.
Yeah. So like we're doing tremendous, we're spending more per month. We're spending probably like 5 times per month what we were a year ago on the software. I can see it speak, but we wouldn't know what to have fixed and built if we didn't have something there. Like the software itself is like reasonable. It just a lot of that really basic engineering I didn't know this about. But with software, there's a lot of very boring stuff. It's like the foundation of your house. No one cares about it until your house falls down. So it's like boring foundational stuff so that the pretty bit that you can see runs smoothly, doesn't get data leakage from one group to another, doesn't defy any regulations, doesn't crash, stuff like that. So that's going on now. And then the hardware engineering is also underway. So we're now building mannequins specifically for the use case, not like reconfiguring ones that are designed for dental schools. We're building ones that are specifically designed for our usage, where they're designed to sit on their chair, they're designed to connect to our software, and then over time they're designed to give feedback without necessarily having a dentist in the loop. So, yeah.
What's cool about this to me, Lincoln, is just that obviously there's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things that you didn't know how to do, but you kind of figured it out. And you've sort of been zigzagging to this point. But look, man, you launched the damn thing and sold $1 million of education immediately, and you started using it successfully. And the exciting thing is looking at where you're at today and looking at where you're going from here. You're not resting on your laurels saying, hey, we got something that's working. Dentists love it. DSOs love it. No, man, it's good, but it can be better and it's going to be better. And that's
like we're about to launch new mannequin, new software, and a whole bunch of new courses that are designed just for DSOs. I mean, our DSO, like May, June this year, we were up 1,100% on last year. Yeah, 11 times the revenue. So, I mean, obviously, to be fair, before we went to Dicoma last year, our DSO revenue was pretty small. But nonetheless, like DSO revenue or corporate revenue, which is really our competitive edge, is we do best in scale dentistry.
Well, look,
like I can't compete. If you want to run like a thing in your house with wine, I can't compete with that.
Hey man, like don't knock it. Don't knock it till you try it. You never know. Yeah, next time we'll have a mannequin here, and we'll play around with that a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be like Jim and me holding the mannequin up, feeding it wine.
No, man, I look at this though, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, obviously, anytime you have a dentist, buy something or sign up for something, it's awesome and it's great. You can create value, you can do better work, and all that sort of thing. And so, every dentist in the world should be signing up and taking courses and doing this. But when you want to scale quickly as a business, it's great to have DSOs that are adding 100 or 500 or 1,000 practices or 2,000 dentists or whatever it is. That's amazing. But to your point, you are also able to iterate more quickly. You're able to test different things out and pivot more quickly. And by the way, DSOs are more business minded than the average dentist out there. So they see that and they say, whoa, you're guaranteeing $100 per hour in increased, production. Holy crap. You start to look at that from an enterprise value standpoint, and those numbers are just massive. So why wouldn't any group sign up with you? I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah. And also they can't scale training. So there's a couple things that the internal team need to focus on really strongly, because we see inside 17, 18 of the world's biggest DSOs now. And so we actually get very strong visibility, maybe as much or more than anyone else, of what's actually happening both at the C-suite and at the actual base level, because we see the dentist in their office and we also see the C-suite, what they're saying. And there's, sometimes they're aligned and quite frequently there's a bit of a mismatch between the two.
Oh my God, tell me about it. I spent a year in that middle ground, trying to translate what the C-suite is saying to the boots on the ground. And they're like, what the hell are they even talking about? And why are they doing this to us? Whereas they have no idea what they're talking about. And, to be in the middle of that and try to translate for both sides is not an easy task, is it?
No, it's, I think that what's interesting is, I mean, we help with that. It's not our core business to help operationally, but actually I'll go back to something you said earlier. You said earlier, anyone, if they sell something, buy something. It is true. And we didn't realize this until we were pitching to investors, and we thought, oh yeah, actually you can't sell anything in dentistry without training. We actually sit at the center of financial performance, implementation of any new procedure, equipment or consumable, patient outcomes, and dentist income and satisfaction. So it's a pretty powerful position sitting there. And like DSOs are not the majority of practices yet, but the consolidation of single dental offices into large dental groups is the fastest growing area of healthcare in the world right now. There is nothing growing faster.
30% right now ish.
It's about, it depends on the country. It's about 38%, but it's growing 17% compounding annual growth.
Wow.
So there's nothing in the world growing like DSOs. So what this means is that right now you have a group that had like 50 practices last year and now they have 120. And suddenly they need to go from training, 120 dentists to training 340. Well, even if you break them into cohorts of 50, where do you send 50 dentists? There's not really a training organization. Any of the old institutes, they can't take that volume of people, and also it's too expensive. Like no one wants to. Like it's not just too expensive; it's just too much of a pain. Like you basically need a full-time travel agent just to deal with the logistics.
Of course. And it's going to cost millions of dollars to do all of that, and that's a tough pill to swallow at scale.
Yeah, and also it's worse because none of the big institutes were built to look after large numbers of dentists employed by a single group that has its own particular characteristics. So they were built for individual dentists in individual offices who have a different mindset, and particularly owners who have a lot of influence over the office. So they were built for a different market, and they can't scale, and they're expensive. And worst of all, people who send their dentist to them, the dentists come back and say, we didn't get a result.
Right.
Like, the CFO saw no difference. And so you know, as you pointed out, they're financially sophisticated, and if they're not getting a result, they don't spend the money. Particularly, you got a private equity wants to cut costs everywhere. And you go, well, we got this line, we spent $1 million on it last year, and it made no difference to the income. So hard to justify that again. Whereas our focus is on the outcome, not on the process. So education is a process. We're not interested in the process. We're interested in the outcome. And so,
and I did some research leading up to this, just because I wanted to know more about what you're doing, and hopefully ask better questions. But one of the numbers that I stumbled upon was it's like I think $5,500 or something like that, but $100 an hour guaranteed and increased production. I mean, you're talking about like making that up within a couple of weeks. Whatever the investment is, you've just crossed that threshold within a couple of weeks. And after that, it's all just profit and better care and better quality of life for everybody. I mean, that's extraordinary. There's not many things you can invest in where you get paid back within a couple of weeks and then continue to grow and make more money beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of time to ramp up. We guarantee $100 an hour, it's on one product. So the Dental Associate Productivity Power Up course. Got enough data on the other courses that we're rolling out. Like, we're rolling out endo, we're rolling out basic extractions and surgery, we're rolling out a few other things. But we're rolling those things out. But the one that we actually have the data on where we can guarantee it is this one. And the DAP course, we call it. And we guarantee the $100 an hour uplift within 120 days. Okay. The lowest return on investment we've got on that course so far is 22 times in a first year.
Absolutely extraordinary. Tell me about that. What is that program?
The highest return on investment we've got is 51 times.
Between 22 and 51 times. What the hell else can you do in this world and get that kind of return on investment? That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't think much. So there's 4 parts to that. And remember that we refine this. I think you and I were talking before we started this. We iterate very quickly because we're working with so many groups. We can test something. And it's not just like we're working with more large DSOs than anyone else, but we're also running multiple cohorts at different stages. We ran last year 165 hands-on courses. In the next year, we'll run 350 hands-on courses.
Jesus, that's a course a day. Unbelievable.
Yeah, 7 a weekend. So across, you might be running 5 across America and 1 in Europe or something on a week. Sure. I don't even know now. I have to actually look it up. I don't, because I'm not teaching them regularly.
It's nice to have a team that you can rely on to do those things as you continue to travel and grow the business.
Yeah. So we can test things and go, we think that could work better if we do this. So then we can 2 weeks later, we're starting a new thing. So we can test it on the next cohort. We go, no, that was terrible. Okay, let's go back to this other thing. And so you just constantly refine. So we're probably refining the training at about 20 or 30 times the speed of anyone else, just because of the number of repetitions we are running of the training. But the thing that with the DAPA course, which is suitable for a DSO that's got a lot of general dentists, who particularly younger ones, it starts out with communication. We call it rapid efficient treatment planning. It's basically a cross between a psychology course for dentists and how to sell, and also some clinical stuff. It's like real world. The real world is not just one thing. The real world is, you have to have clinical knowledge, you have to have decision making, you have to have leadership, you have to have communication skills, you have to deal with all of your psychological weirdness that you develop in dental school and before, and then also be able to talk about money. So that's what real world treatment planning is, and that's why most courses don't fix it, because they focus on the clinical bit or they focus on the communication bit, but they don't focus on the clinical, the communication, how to make a decision when you're not sure, how to look someone in the eye and say that'll cost $27,000 without.
You got to have it all. And that's the thing about dentistry. I mean, there's so many complex skill sets that you really have to master in order to truly be successful and provide great care and run a great business and all that sort of thing. And unfortunately, we don't really learn most of those skills in dental school. And so to have access to a program and a process where you can kind of get all of that, and not like you can get this and then get this and get this, you get it all together combined into one program. And I think that's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, so the DAPA course, we run that 2 days of treatment planning. That's the only thing that we run globally that's in person.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that expensive to run a seminar-style workshop. We have enough different teachers around the world that we can scale that pretty easily. And you can't teach body language and voice control and how to look someone in the eye online. It's impossible. So it starts with that. Then we do crown prep training just on back teeth. Then we do cosmetic anterior crowns on front teeth. So it's like 4 days of that. And then we do monthly check-in calls that run for 12 months because we've found dentistry is interesting in many other professions. Like I got this idea from I know dentists never want to be like car salespeople, but my next door neighbor is the general manager of a massive car dealership. And he's saying, yeah, we do like weekly training. I go, wow, that's incredible. Like, we teach a dentist communication skills once and expect them to be good for the rest of their life. And anyone who's ever done any sort of sales training, and dentists sell whether they think they do or not,
right,
gets constant mentoring and training on this, like weekly.
Yeah.
So with this now, we build in 12 months of monthly check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also just about to release within the platform weekly, like little motivational weekly snippets, like 5 minutes just to remind you of some of the key things that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
So this is a lot more than just online education. I mean, you're developing a whole community here.
We're developing a community, but like obviously we go to a group and go, do you want this? It's going to generate these results. So it becomes a subscription. And when we do that, the results are extraordinary. But that's developed. And then on top of that, we work very closely with the groups on the change management process of implementing this, because if you don't implement it right, it will never work. So if people have ever run education, it didn't work, it's because the change management is not right, the skills training is not right, it's not combined with communication skills and a whole bunch of other things. And we have learned that because we are guaranteeing a result. And so if we're not getting results, and then on top of that, we go into the group and constantly check in with all the dentists, and that provides us operational insights, and we collate all that intelligence and feed it back to the C-suite and go, by the way, did you know in Clinic 27, they haven't had a dental assistant for the dentist for the last 2 weeks, and that's probably why your production's down.
Man, it's funny. It's interesting how sometimes you can deliver that news and they don't do anything about it anyway. But if they don't have that data, if they don't understand what's going on, then they're not likely to do anything about it. So you're not just getting them trained up. You're giving them some of those operational insights that they may be a little bit far away from and may not have known what's really going on.
Yeah, I think that often they don't know. Like they often can fix these things pretty quickly once we tell them.
Sure.
Because obviously we go, we're not going to do a guarantee on the production if you don't provide your dentist with a dental assistant. So the reason why your production. What I've learned from this process is that when you want to fix practices in a DSO, you don't fix all the practices at once. You just fix one. Just get one going nicely, then do the next one and the next one. Because when you try and fix everything a little bit all the time, like with change management, if you implement everything a little bit all the time across everything, you get zero result at all.
Yeah. So you want to concentrate your focus on that one, get proof of concept, and then you get buy-in from all the other constituents.
Yeah. So in technology adoption, they call it the wedge. So there's actually no difference between viral technology adoption and managing a DSO at scale. It's the same thing. How do you get a whole bunch of people to adopt something? It's an adoption curve. So adoption curves tend to be flat until they hit 15, 18%, and then they go vertical, and then they slow off at 85%. So like DSOs are an adoption curve. So DSOs are growing like crazy because it's more than 15% and less than 85%. Once DSOs get to 85% of the market, they'll really slow down. So anyone who wants to build one, you've got between now at 38% until the time it hits about 70%, and then it's going to get hard. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think it'll get to about 70%. I think beyond that, it's going to be tough, because you've got dentists who have either dug in their heels. There's no way I'm ever going to be a part of that, or you just have a lot of practices that aren't attractive. They're not attractive purchases. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get to that, 70, 75%, and where do they go from there? And then is it all vertical growth because you don't have more acquisitions to make?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that organic growth is often the most technically difficult to achieve, but it's by far the most profitable.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what you're providing, exactly the right product and service at exactly the right time. That's pretty cool, man. I'm really excited for you having done what you've done to this point and looking ahead. And, I have no doubt what you'll continue to change and improve upon.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, Jim, it's also fun. Like, I wouldn't say it was fun. It wasn't fun for some years. Like, actually, it's like dentistry. So, when you start out as a dentist, it's not actually that fun because you're hopeless and your patients are nasty and they can't afford it. And you get the worst patients. Like, your first year, you get like the lady who comes in and says the last 27 dentures were no good. She has a bag of dentures and you're like a 23-year-old. You wouldn't know a denture if it hit you in the face. And you go, oh, yeah, and you puff your chest out and, 250 adjustments later.
Oh my God, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. Seriously, man. I think about 4 years out of dental school is when I decided, you know what, there's a lot of other stuff I enjoy doing a lot more, and dentures is going to go to my associates. They can be really good at that, and I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, dentures are tough at the price point they're mostly done at.
Yeah.
So if you want to like enjoy dentures, you got to like move outside of insurance. You just got to keep
charge
increasing.
$10,000 an arch, and you're going to get really damn good at it, right?
Yeah, you increase the price of most people who say I don't like a procedure. You go, do you not like the procedure? We just don't like the price. Like you go, I don't like doing disto-occlusal restorations on an upper left second molar. Okay, but what if it was $850? Oh, well, then I like it. Okay, so
when I used to teach with David Hornbrook back in the day, and one of the things that we really taught was, look, charge a fee that means that you will never ever need to compromise ever. It means that you're going to be happy with whatever you're bringing in for the time that this procedure takes. And guess what? If you have to redo it, you're not going to complain about it. And if you have a difficult patient, you're not going to complain about it because your fee is at a point where, you can do your best work and not have any regrets about it.
Yeah, no regrets. But the difficulty with that in scale dentistry is that the bigger you get, the closer you must become to average. Okay, so
what do you mean by that?
Yeah. The average is average is a standard deviation. Okay, it's like the middle of the standard deviation is. Middle of the bell curve is the average, and then you've got a standard deviation and more standard. Okay. So if you're a single office, it's very easy to be 1 or 2 standard deviations above everyone else in cost.
Sure.
But if you have 1,000 offices like that, you are now the average cost. Okay. Or if you've got 10,000 offices, how many offices? So you've got 100,000 offices. Now you are the average cost of the procedure. Now, if you have an average cost of a procedure that's very high across the whole nation, guess what you can do to immediately grab massive market share? Drop the price. So if you have the average price, first of all, if you move it up, now it's like 2 standard deviation, but you're so big, you are now the average. So now that's the middle of the bell. And there's a lot of room below that to come in and compete. And so at an individual office level, that works because you can be an individual, very high-performing office.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work at scale because you actually just can't be. There's nowhere in life where someone scales to so big that they start to affect the average.
Yeah, right.
Well, you can't be above average cost when you are the average.
What's interesting about this conversation and the direction it's going in, I mean, you're really talking about adjusting your own fee schedules, which indicates your fee for service. You're not signed up to every, PPO plan out there and everything like that. And I'll say this, my entire career, I was fee for service. And I used to say, back to your car salesman thing, I used to say, I would rather sell used cars than give 40% of every dollar I make to an insurance company. I mean, screw that. I mean, talk about a situation where I feel undervalued and feel like I'm not producing enough, not making enough, feel like I don't have enough time with patients and all that sort of thing. And, you know, that's really one of the things that I teach. It's really about fee for service practice and what you need to do to actually do that successfully. And then the freedom it gives you to set your own fees and to, you know, be autonomous in terms of how you run your business.
So I was fee for service too. So I understand that world of like completely independent of any insurance fees. But I also know that if I wanted to have 4,000 offices, I'm probably going to struggle to maintain that level of ideological purity because it's just hard. And also, I mean, if you look across America, there are very high-end businesses for sure. Like, you know, America has very wide standard deviations of everything. This is like when you live outside of America, no one really like people go, Americans are dumb because they don't know about the rest of the world. But also the rest of the world's kind of dumb because most actually people outside of America don't understand America at all.
Yeah. I mean, you got a bell curve there too. You know, you got both extremes and you got most of us somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. But I think like in Australia, the bell curve is not stretched as much. Like an example of that is, you know, in America, you can have quite poor people and there's also a particular lower middle class section of the population that really have it bad. Like they're not poor enough to get any Medicaid and stuff and they're not rich enough to afford good insurance and they're in this like terrible dead zone between those two where it's awful. And if I was going to be in that position, I'd rather live in a lot of other countries in America. But you also have like a good example is looking at the yachts at Palm Beach. You get a distorted view because that's not even that yacht's not that big, and then you go, holy hell, that yacht's like 75 feet long. It just doesn't look big because the one behind it's 110 feet. Okay, and you have you drive along next to John Wayne Airport. It's like a mile of private jets.
Right.
It's like it's so many G650s that you don't even understand. Like, you don't sit there and go, that's actually like a massive plane to drive around privately, but there's just like hundreds of them.
Right.
So you get this distorted view that private jets are kind of normal and everyone has one, which is not true. So that's what I mean by there's a big standard deviation. Like you don't have the just incredible variation in many other countries. Yeah, like you have entire segments of the population that are devoted to jacked up pickup trucks driving through mud. There's probably hundreds of millions of dollars of sponsorship that go into somewhere in southern state driving a jacked up pickup truck through the mud with beer or something. Like it's a whole industry. Just for one thing. It's crazy. It's great. I love it.
You know, when you look at what you're doing, like this rapid effective treatment planning, like why is that such a problem for so many dentists? I mean, like you could be out for 10, 15, 20 years and still have trouble treatment planning. Like, why is that? And what do you do differently that makes it easy for them to move the needle?
It's difficult because it's a simple problem, but it's not an easy one. Okay. Like it's simple that if you act with confidence, you communicate clearly, you don't get weird about the money, people just say yes to stuff. It's difficult because to do that, you can't sell procedures you can't do. So you kind of have to have clinical ability. But you can't get good at stuff if you can't sell it. Right. So you're kind of trapped in this like weird zone where you can't sell it because you're no good at talking about it and you're not good at talking about it because you can't sell it. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, dentists have the type of people who are drawn to dentistry. A large proportion of dentists are neurodivergent, so higher than the average population. I think we're a bit affected. It probably includes me. I haven't been diagnosed.
I have as well. Yep.
So that's one of it. And then secondly, the way we're taught to get into dental school is like through fear of failure, perfectionism, get good marks, never make an A-. So that teaches you a lot of skills that are bad for being a dentist, but good for getting into dentistry. Most dentists have all these psychological barriers: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of money, fear of getting sued, fear of blah, blah, blah. Look, all these fears, and they don't know they have some. So the reason it's such a difficult thing to teach is because you need to understand the psychology of a dentist. You actually need to understand the procedures. So you have to be multidisciplinary. You have to understand the business side. You have to understand how to talk about money. You need to understand leadership skills. There's so many components to this that are not easy or obvious.
It's interesting. Some people have like certain pieces of that, are better at that than others, but we all have blind spots and we all have shortcomings. And so to standardize that, to teach that and train that is, I think that we can all benefit from that to some degree.
Yeah. Rapid efficient treatment planning is, it doesn't matter how advanced the dentist is. Actually, the more advanced the dentist is, the bigger the uplift from that particular course.
Yeah.
So I had one dentist who went from like £1,200 an hour in the UK to like £3,500. So it was like he went from $1,500 per hour to like over $4,000 an hour.
Well, yeah, the skill set and the demand was there. He just had to figure out how to, turn the knob and, open up the floodgates, right?
Yeah. So this is why, like, most of the time we can help train dentists within a group much more effective than internal people, because this is like 20 years of cumulative trial and error on how do you get a dentist to perform. We started running courses in Whistler Blackcomb on implants and cosmetics in 2006. So we've been, myself and my companies have been associated with performance-based training for 20 years across, and because I was in Australia, I was always focused internationally. So I've been working internationally in performance-based training for 20 years.
So tell me this. My real experience is with American dentists, obviously, and a little bit with foreign dentists, but how is it different? What's the mentality like here for a dentist versus somebody in Australia or somebody in Europe? Obviously the same concepts apply across the board, but in terms of like, what maybe I have as an American dentist that a dentist in, London doesn't have, or vice versa?
I think there's three big differences with American dentists. So American dentists are all older when they graduate, and they're more commercially minded because they all graduate with a massive loan.
Yeah.
So most countries in the world, you either graduate with a much smaller loan, like a quarter the size, or you graduate with no loan at all. So you'll see an example would be, if you go online, you'll see some European dentists, and it's like they're an artist. Like you just go, how did you develop such artistic dental skill? It's because they graduated with no debt. Like when you graduate in America, if you don't make money, you're going to go bankrupt basically immediately. Yeah. As we discussed earlier, that's a very motivating factor. So that's, and you can't discharge student debt through bankruptcy. So it's like, it's not even just that you go bankrupt, you still got debt. So that's the first thing, is American dentists are more mature when they graduate. They're often married, not always, but often, much more commonly than other countries, because they're at least, a dental degree in most countries is 5 years. Here it's 4 years, but after you've done 3 or 4 years of college. So you're 8 years in, so you're older. You're more mature, you're more commercially minded. The flip side is you have less ability to learn high-level skill sets. Like elegant cosmetics and the highest level of soft tissue manipulation around implants. It's harder to learn that because you have to make money.
Yeah. You can't take the time to just really obsess over every little detail. And I can see that.
Yeah. And then ideologically, American dentists are more willing to do procedures. So it's almost like dentistry is a little bit like the developer versus the environmentalist. Okay, the environmentalist wants nothing built ever because they just like nature. Okay, the developer doesn't see a forest that wouldn't look better as a 10-story building. Okay, and so now the reason this is interesting is if you go to, and what's funny about this is we often see the Europeans as being more environmental, but they've also more heavily developed their nations than America. Like I was just in Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons. Zero development there. Okay, there's like a road about 20 miles away and that's it. If you're on the coast of California, there's certain areas like Carmel and Big Sur National Park where there is no development except a road. So when you're on that area, you go, wow, this is natural. It's beautiful. Just the road, that's it. Like minimally invasive development. But then when you're on the Amalfi Coast, no one sits there and goes, I hate this. It should all be bulldozed and turned back to nature. The reason the Amalfi Coast is beautiful is it's fully developed, like all the way up the cliffside. You've got these beautiful villas.
Spectacular. Oh, man.
Yeah. So dentistry often is like very ideological, where it's, I think teeth should never be developed because I'm an environmentalist, or I never saw a set of teeth that didn't look better with 38 veneers. And the truth is, it depends on the customer a bit, and that somewhere in, it depends on the patient. Like some patients, I'm going to veneer all their teeth, even though there's not much wrong with them, because that particular patient, it's the right thing for them for a whole bunch of reasons. And another patient with exactly the same teeth, I'm going to do nothing at all because it's the thing for them. So that's the biggest difference. American dentists are more willing to do more stuff earlier in their life, but it takes longer to build. If you want to do the highest level of elegant aesthetics, it's often harder to learn that as early because you got to make money. Otherwise, you got to cut past your laps. So,
hey, let's pivot into AI a little bit. Obviously, everybody's got a new AI platform. Everybody's doing something, and there are a lot of really amazing things going on. And of course, competition, I think, lends itself to greater advances, and every platform just gets better and better and better. So, like, when you look at some of these AI things out there, what do you think? What are the things that genuinely improve clinical care versus the things that you think, man, dentists better kind of watch out or maybe take a step back, be more cautious about?
Yeah, so there's really three stages in generating revenue in a practice. There's the funnel, which is lead generation, lead capture, and bringing the patient in the door. Okay. Then you've got post-care, follow-up, recall, making sure we don't lose it, making sure we actually get paid, revenue cycle management. That's the back end. So you got the front end and the back end. You got the funnel leading in, and you got the jet exhaust out the back end. In the middle, like in the throat of the rocket or the core of the jet or the bottleneck, you have the clinical delivery. So the clinical delivery is the choke point because no revenue is generated unless clinical services are delivered. So the hygienist and the dentist are the biggest choke point. So So when you want to think about AI, the first thing you want to think about is which part of these three steps is the AI? Is it delivering on the front end, like driving air into the jet engine? Or is it delivering on the back end, which is, the exhaust coming out? Or is it helping the dentist at the choke point? Now, if the operations of your business, the two most important things for generating revenue is morale, that's number one. Because the single biggest way to kill a DSO of any size is dentist churn. Okay? So that's if you lose a dentist, you lose $150,000 to $400,000 to your EBITDA that year. So thing number one is, are your basics working? So that means your clinics work. They have functioning equipment. The dentist, the team are well trained. You have sufficient staff. The phone gets answered, all of that. There's not water leaking through the roof. I know a clinic that had a mouse plague. You can't get production when there's mice running everywhere, and you've got to shut the practice down. And no mice, no leaks in the roof. You actually have dental equipment in your dental office.
The basics.
And you have dentists who have high morale and are proud to work there. Okay? If you have those two things, if you don't have those things, and you add AI, you will make the AI look bad.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Okay. It uncovers what you are, and it makes you more of whatever that is, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, what's the point of pushing more air in the front of a jet engine that's broken? You've got to have the engine spinning, then you can push more air in. So pushing more leads into, often if the people are not generating decent treatment plans or they're not generating sufficiently high acceptance rates, then the treatment plans, doing all this marketing, AI, lead capture, phone systems, all this stuff. Basically, what you're trying to do is going, our treatment, our revenue accepted is so poor, we're just going to try and push more patients in so that they can have a terrible acceptance rate of more people.
And nothing worse than that to talk about creating bad morale when you've got 1,000 new patients coming in and you're converting very few. So you're increasing your stress and the burden on the front office, on the clinical team, while converting even less. And so there's no better way to, piss people off and make people not want to work there than all that.
Yeah. So if you have those two parts running, and we're running a whole workshop on this at Dykema. I don't know whether this will come out before then.
Excellent.
It'll probably come out after, but there's a whole workshop that I'm running with the Chief Medical Officer of Coliseum, Fazila Rapani, and
excellent. She's sharp.
Yeah. And so we will run this workshop on like what, of all the things in your business, what are the one or two things that you can focus on that will generate the biggest returns? They are always, do your clinics work operationally, and do your dentists have morale, and are they proud to work there? If that's a yes, then adding Pearl AI or Overjet or Video, they will make a huge difference. Okay. If you add something like, Patient Prism on the front end to improve the quality, or putting in a, AI driven call center so that you can have very highly trained people, that will be excellent. But you'll notice there's like still highly trained people. And then you put revenue cycle management, Google review capture, all these AI tools. AI tools applied to a well-functioning group dramatically enhance results.
Absolutely.
AI tools applied to a broken group make the AI look bad.
Interesting. So I know you just you partnered with Pearl not too long ago. What does that partnership make possible for you now with what you're doing moving forward?
Chief Dental Officer of Pearl came to one of our rapid efficient treatment plannings, which, we're talking about case acceptance for 2 days.
Yeah.
And she said, wow, this is amazing. Like, because the thing is, people often, the AI shows them things and then they don't know how to talk about it. So you're still like, it's excellent to have tools to help visualize things for the patient.
Yeah.
You still need, like, I love photographs. I love AI, the AI put in like the little pink dots and stuff over things. I love the cone beams, the, implant planning tools, all that stuff, 3D design software that can show them the smile before and after in about 2 minutes of a scan. All great. But you could have 2 dentists and 2 hygienists and 2 treatment coordinators with the same pictures, and one of them might generate 5 times as much work.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? I mean, that just goes back to your point where, give somebody all of the tools in the world, but if they don't have the skill sets to really utilize them, then it's just kind of a waste of everybody's time and money.
Yeah. And so one of the things, what's happening to us now is a lot of vendors, so people who manufacture products, manufacture implants, tools, all sorts of things, and lots of SaaS products and lots of all sorts of things are coming to us, consumable manufacturers coming to us and going, can you help us build training to improve basically improve the cost effectiveness of our programs? And that's, like, the total addressable market on our business is about $125 billion. So, we are
You're
a long way.
You're the engine. It's like, what do you want driving in and what do you want coming out? You're the damn engine. And without the engine working at high efficiency, then the rest of it just, it's pointless.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I'm very excited for our business, because there's just so many, like, when you just it's a platform for teaching a skill, and teaching skills at large scale is just such a hugely effective thing. It's not even like, we started with dentists, people now want us to train their dental assistants, want us to train the hygienists, want us to train the treatment coordinators. I got an orthodontic group. They said, we just want you to train every level of case acceptance. So I've built like this new program. I haven't decided on the names, like the Case Acceptance King or some nonsense, but it will be like a comprehensive case acceptance, not even training, just like constant mentoring package subscription where we deal with, the people on the phones, the people at the front office, the treatment coordinators, the dental assistants, the hygienists, the dentists themselves, like every level of that.
Yeah.
I haven't worked out what the return on investment will be, because orthodontics is different. Like orthodontics, the ticket size is the same. It's just the case acceptance is different. But yeah, I think we'll be able to make big differences.
The team is such a big part of the process. The dentist can be phenomenal, but if you have breaks in that chain of communication and that patient experience, well, guess what? Things aren't going to happen then either. And so having a team that's really cohesive and has some of those same skills, and everybody's in a position to succeed and provide the patient what they need, then you can really take off. So, when I look at that, the thing you said, $125 billion market. Well, hey man, there are like 4.6 million dentists around the world. I mean, Ripe Global is in a position to help, the majority of those. I mean, to take that to scale, that's a crazy thing. You're going to have to hire a few extra people, I think. But I know.
I think we might. We might end up with several thousand at some point. But
I know, right? Right. I mean, you already have a team around the world. I mean, you've got clinicians around the world teaching these courses every weekend, which is extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, like also we have over 1 million hours of video training data of dentists being trained to do procedures. I don't think anyone else even comes close to that. So, like if you want to build a machine learning model on how, on feedback on whatever, we have huge amounts of data. So but also like, I've had requests from other healthcare verticals. I'm building the same thing for them. I don't yet have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
Our wedge is DSOs. Once
sure.
I've nailed DSOs, then we'll move to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then we'll move outside of dentistry, and then we'll probably move outside of healthcare. And so that's the wedge right now. And we, like, interestingly, investors are coming more and more frequently. Like, I used to have to beg for investors, and now I get like both the little ones and then the investment bankers and the, private equity all circling like vultures. I'm not ready.
Oh, of course.
Not ready for a Series A. We're just finishing off our seed. But the Series A will probably come later this year or early next year. But they're all circling already. I've got multiple companies going, hey, when you're ready, come and talk to us. We want to put a check in, $5 million in the next round, whatever.
I mean, I think you have a multi-billion-dollar future, and it's a good problem to have people interested in being a part of that future. When you look at recruiting like educators around the world, like what are the biggest qualities you look for in them beyond just like credentials? Like what are you looking for in an educator?
We often don't look at credentials. Like even to teach a specialist procedure, we're less interested in. So the number one thing is there's a type of character in some people where you can just go, that person has the courage to stand up in front of people and promote excellence, promote quality, promote dentistry, and promote themselves. They have to be willing to promote themselves, because you can't actually help people if you're not willing to be known. Because that's number one, is this level of ambition. We can kind of pick it up. I kind of know when I see it. You have to be good speakers. We can train public speaking, but if you don't want to be a good public speaker, I can't help you, because speaking to camera is even more difficult than speaking to an audience.
I agree, 1,000,000%. Yeah.
And then a willingness to fail and get constant grinding feedback. Like being a teacher is difficult. Being a teacher when you start is easy, but then later on in life, when you stand up in front of an audience and then someone comes up and says your presentation was shit, like that's pretty painful. So the ability to dust yourself off and go again in teaching is pretty hard. But at some point, someone will tell you that you're a terrible teacher, and that's tough to get over. So yeah, they're the things. Like we want them generally young and ambitious, basically. If you're young and ambitious and you're willing to learn, that's the number one thing. If you're a traditional teacher, we find that if someone's been teaching with traditional methods for 20 years, it can be pretty hard to retrain them.
Yeah.
Not impossible.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, you develop certain methodologies and, philosophies that work for a long period of time, but, things change. Things change over the years, and it's good to have a fresh perspective and kind of be up to date on all of the latest and greatest things. And looking at that, I mean, like this international community you've built, you've got to be picking up like little nuances and different things in different countries and different places, right? I mean, like even Coliseum, they're doing some incredible things I know across Europe. I mean, what are you learning? What surprised you the most from building this international community?
Two things that surprise you to know. The first one is when you deal with scale, it's a completely different problem than dealing with an individual dentist. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, there's a few things. Like American dentists are richer and have spending power that's significantly ahead of almost all of the rest of the world. And it takes a while to get used to that. So if you're an American dentist, they'll all carry on like they're poor because they had student debt. But your average American dentist can spend. Here's a statistic. American dentists, I forget there's like about 200,000 of them or something. What'd you say? It's 4 million.
Yeah.
So they're like 5% of the dental population, but they account for 55% or 60% of the spending power.
Wow, that's incredible. I guess it doesn't surprise me. I think back to like 01 to 05, Lincoln, when I decided like I needed to get educated and I went crazy. I went to every continuum. I went to every conference. I went to every, practice management thing. And Dude, I was spending over $100,000 a year on educating myself and my team, probably up to 200,000 a couple of those years. And it was just this hunger. It was available. We had the cash flow, and there was this hunger. I mean, we did way more than we should have, of course, but I do see that. I see that in a lot of American dentists, and the money almost doesn't even matter if it's something they really want to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it always matters, but I think it's not easy to understand how much more you earn as an American dentist because you don't feel it. Like you graduate, you feel poor, you got a big debt, and you know, it takes you a while to get going. And then once you're going, you're kind of still paying your debts down. And by the time you have paid your debts down, you're really crushing it. You've got that mindset of frugality, so you never quite quit. You know, it's like people who went through the Great Depression, never quite forget feeling hungry, and so they have like 7 chest freezers full of meat and 900 jars of pickles in there.
Yeah, right.
You know, so you know who you are, you guilty people. So, that's one thing that's different. There's little things that surprise you. These are not like good or bad. They're just different. Like I went to a country recently in the Baltics and did rapid efficient treatment plan. They had never had a lecture that wasn't clinically focused in their entire lives.
Wow.
Like they were kind of nervous to have me because they knew that I'm like, you know, like the first thing, one of the first things I say is, who here sells dentistry? And like usually in any room in the world, 20% of dentists put their hands up and go, I sell dentistry. And then I go, who here works for free? Okay. And no one puts their hand up. They all get paid. And I go, the definition of a sale is the exchange of a good or service for money. So let's try again. Who here sells dentistry? And then 100% of people put their hand up. Because it's not every dentist in the world hates the idea of selling, but what they actually mean is selling poorly, because you only feel like you're being sold to when the salesperson is bad. If the salesperson is really trained, really well skilled, and really sophisticated, you actually never feel the fact that they're selling to you. Because excellent sales is understanding the customer, asking them enough questions that they feel understood, finding a solution to their problem, focusing on their long-term benefit, not yours, telling the truth, and delivering on follow-through. Okay. Now, all those things, if I say to you, you should be a dentist who tells the truth, follows through on what you said, delivers an excellent solution to the problem, actually finds out what the problem is, and makes sure the customer feels understood and well cared for, would that be terrible? And 0% of dentists think that that's a terrible idea. Right. And that is actually what a good salesperson looks like.
Man, and you're just flipping the switch for a lot of people who have never been exposed to that kind of mentality. I mean, countries that haven't been exposed to that mentality in terms of the industry there. So, boy, that is a very broad playing field. And changing the mentality, changing the thought around dentistry and business, and let's be honest, doing more good for more people when you run it as a business and you have profits that will help you get the technology, help you retain the best team, help you get the education and all those things. So what a cool thing for you to be a part of, sort of changing that whole mentality. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in this particular country that the first week afterwards, they just went it was like an explosion. This lady, one of the dentists said to me, she said, I did 3 ceramic restorations in the entire last year. Now, that means some patients are not getting the best treatment, because there are a lot of patients where if they've got 3 cusps off and they've got a massive MOD amalgam, they actually need a ceramic restoration. I don't care whether it's a crown, an onlay, a cronlay, a croissant. I couldn't care less. It should be ceramic or metal. It should not be plastic. And I'm sure.
And so she said, I've diagnosed and had accepted 20 restorations in 1 week. So it's almost 10 times.
Changed your life?
Yeah. She says, this has changed my life. And then another one said, I said to this patient, the patient said, can you fix my teeth? And I said, well, if you want to fix your teeth, it's going to cost 27,000 euros. The patient says, okay, well, what have I got to do? She says, I can't believe it. I've never said such a big number in my entire life.
Wow, Lincoln, to be a part of that and to hear these kinds of results. I mean, obviously it's great because you've got these awesome testimonials and other people are going to buy in and everything, but just on a personal level, to help someone who is then by extension going to help thousands of patients. I mean, that's a pretty big lever. I mean, on the global scale that you're able to, really affect change.
Yeah. I mean, the best part about it, Jim, is when someone says to me, Link, I was going to quit dentistry last week and now I'm enjoying it. Like to see that, to see a life change like that. Someone who said, I hated dentistry. It was so stressful. And now, the crown preps just come out like that. I'm actually enjoying it again. That's the best part.
You work with a lot of individual practices and then, obviously DSOs, like you said, and that's just going to accelerate from here. Do they have pretty much the same underlying problems and challenges, or do they take a vastly different approach,
DSOs are often at different stages. So, you got the stage where there's like 3 groups of 10 practices have just joined together and they're just like getting going. So that's like a different stage. You've got someone who's like at 60 practices and now they're bringing in private equity. That's a different stage. So you've got someone who's at 400 practices, the private equity's been wiped out, the bank owns the practices. That's a different stage. You got someone who's at 1,000 practices and they got a big, solid, long-term partner and they're just accelerating. They got their systems in a row and they know what they're good at and what they're not. They're in a different stage. And then you got like Heartlands at a different stage. So first of all, what they need differs by stage. Secondly, they have all grown in different ways, so they're not the same. Like you got, some groups that are all de novos, and then you got some groups that are roll-ups, and then you got some groups that are roll-ups where they keep the name on the practice, and you got some that are de novos and roll-ups where they change the name and all have the same name. So that's different. And then, but their core underlying, there's like a shopping list of problems. But DSOs don't have all of them, but out of that shopping list, their problems sit within that common list. So it might be like 15 things, and everyone has some of the things on that list. So with experience, you start to recognize the same patterns over and over again.
That makes sense. So, hey, man, you've given me a ton of your time here. I do have a few more questions if you got a little more time.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool, man. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm learning a lot, and I know anybody watching this is also learning a lot, and I think there's value in continuing that because a few of the questions I think they'll illuminate things even more. But when you look at your life as an entrepreneur, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different skill sets that you have to have. A lot of different moving parts, and like you said from the beginning, you had this one vision, and it's really morphed into something entirely different, which is pretty exciting. But what's been the biggest challenge? Is it the technology? Is it building the team? Or like becoming a better leader?
Yes.
All of it. Yeah, man. Depends on the day, right?
So for people who are starting out trying to build a platform, the first thing is like there's a very fine line between a revolutionary idea that's going to change the world and a really stupid idea. It's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
So that's problem number one. So if you're trying to like flog a dead horse, as we would say in Australia, or resurrect a dead idea, then you should give up. However, if you do have a good idea, you will only survive by the barest of margins, and you should never give up. So the number one thing for success is just don't give up.
Yeah,
that's number one. And the second one is you often have to commit to doing things even though you're not 100% sure how you will do it nor how you will fund it. Okay, so like when I brought on my chief operating officer, I couldn't really afford him. It was like first time I'd employed someone with such a large salary, like compared to what I'd been used to in dentistry. In dentistry you have the dentist, but then everyone else is significantly less expensive than a chief operating officer. So bringing in this what I thought was a pretty expensive person at the time, the question was, how do you afford it? And I go, well, I don't really know. I'll figure it out. So that idea that you don't always get, there's a small number of businesses, like I have a friend who raised $10 million in his seed fund before he basically committed to anything. And
wow.
Good for him. But
I was going to say, he must have had a hell of an idea.
No, just like a hell of a connection. They just happen to have a really good connection. And so, but most people who start with little bits of money and so on. So the hardest part is not giving up when there's, right now we're going great. We're crushing it with the results. We're growing like crazy, there's our whole business is up 50%, but the power engines of growth are growing at over 100% a year and recently over 1,000% a year. And so that it's great now, but to get to this point, you know, I had to move countries, I had to sell my house to buy out a co-founder, I had to give up clinical practice. You know, doing immigration is difficult. You arrive in America, you don't have a credit score, so you can't get a credit card, can't get a car, you can hardly even get like internet for your office. So those things are all really difficult. Doing technology when you're not actually an engineer is tricky because you don't know whether they're good or not for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're essentially juggling like 5 chainsaws, so it just depends which one you're catching at the time. At risk of cutting your hand off, like, oh, it's the, you know, HR complaint chainsaw has come down and nearly took my arm off, and then you throw that one back up, and it's like now we're running out of money. We need to get more investors. So it's like it's just a constant juggle. It is pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I had to laugh earlier. You said something about being neurodivergent, and I am too. And, one of the things that success brings is more opportunities and more distractions and all of that sort of thing. And I'm dealing with that like daily, weekly, monthly. And it's really hard to kind of figure out like what do you do and what do you decide not to build when you got all these amazing ideas?
Yeah, so I mean, it's bad enough when you're entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs have to spend. So prioritization is not so much what you choose to do; it's what you choose not to do. Okay, so you can probably do 3 things a day, and your list of things you want to do is probably 15.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people say to me, "Oh, I didn't finish my list." I go, "That's good." Like if you finish your list, either your list is too small or you're not prioritizing. You know, you don't have important things. So if you're prioritizing each day, a lot of that is, okay, I'm going to do the first one thing and I'm going to do the second thing and maybe the third thing. And then all the rest of the list I'm not going to get to because I'm prioritizing what's important. So the way I focus, you know, my business is kind of simple. I need to grow revenue in the things that are growing well. Otherwise, I can't grow the valuation of the business to raise more capital. And I also can't grow profitability. I need to drive my hardware engineering ahead faster and faster so no one can catch up because we have a 5-year head start and no one's even close. And I need to push my software engineering ahead to create a platform which soon there'll be base levels of it that we will let everyone in dentistry use for free.
Awesome.
And, you know, we need to make that really beautiful to use and really cool. And so that's really, I've only got 3 things to worry about. Like, yes, there's a whole bunch of other verticals we can go into. There's desire, there's demand, people want it, people need it. I can't do them without more resources.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I get more resources? I need either capital or I need sales. And to get capital, I need sales. Okay, so it's kind of like to scale our business and to make the valuation a multi-billion-dollar business, it needs to be a platform, not a teaching company. So how do we make a platform that's useful for everyone in the world to teach with? We need excellent hardware, we need excellent software. How do we fund that? We need to keep going to sales. What's the easiest place for us to do sales? Right now, it's scaled dental organizations, which are DSOs, manufacturers, and a few other things. So, like if the reality is nothing focuses your mind like a cash burn.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, it's like what is going to keep generating revenue, driving it up so that it can support the cash burn that, by the way, is increasing because of all the new things and how we're expanding out there. I mean, to go global, that's a pretty big, that is a very daunting task and a very ambitious task, and it requires revenue. So it seems to me like you've done it the right way. I mean, the hardest thing I think sometimes in growth is making sure infrastructure keeps up with that growth, you know, and as you're raising capital and you're growing your team and you're, you know, getting in with more DSOs and things like that, it just seems like from the outside looking in, I'm sure it's always looks a lot more smooth than it is, but it seems like you're doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, like all businesses are like that. You just accept the fact that on the outside they look like an absolute juggernaut, on the inside it's like duct tape and a wire coat hanger and
yeah, exactly.
But you know, we like And also it's good to stop sometimes and go, look at what we've done. I'll give you an example. So end of 2024, I'm sitting there going, I needed to move to America. So I need to move to America, probably mid 24 actually. I said, I need to move to America. I need better hardware. I need better software. And it just wasn't going anywhere. And I just said, guys, we are just going to start. They go, well, how are we going to fund it? I said, I don't know. Just start doing it. What I've learned is that the more progress and rapid growth in every area, like it doesn't mean just revenue. I mean, like, wow, they got new software coming out. Oh, they got AI, feedback loops, and oh, wow, they got new hardware, and they're signed up, almost, there's like 2 really big DSOs in the Northern Hemisphere we haven't signed yet. We've got just about everything else. And so once people see the momentum, then it's very easy. So like I get investors now, everything from individual dentists, they want to cut a $100,000 or $200,000 check, which is super important in the early stages because they're fast, make quick investments and so on. To like all the people who are now going, right, we're ready. Like when you are want a big check, blah, 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 we're ready for you.
Yeah.
So that momentum, that offers of investors coming in. And, just as an aside, if you are a general dentist or, someone associated with dentistry who wants to do, between a $50,000 and $200,000 check, you probably only got about another 6 months to get that in before it's like, $2 to $5 million checks or 10 to 15.
Good to know.
Okay,
and
so,
look, it's nice to have some grassroots investors. It's nice to have dentists involved in a platform that, is reshaping the industry. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, like that opportunity is going to close soon. So, yeah. So I think the most important thing and the most difficult is you have to have courage, because you often have to make decisions where you don't have certainty. You don't 100% know how you're going to do it. You've got all these people telling you you're not an expert in the field. You don't know what you're doing. But the thing that's cool about America is that it's more encouraging to do things here than anywhere else. So in the rest of the world, you go, look, I want to build, like you basically said, hey, it sounds like you've got a multi-billion-dollar idea. I agree, we do. If I say that in Australia or many other countries, they're going to say, you're crazy, that'll never happen. Because the fear in those countries is if we support you and you don't achieve it, we might feel bad.
Interesting. It's just a totally different mentality. That's not something I really thought about. So
whereas in America they go, right, that sounds cool. My cousin's uncle is like a venture capital fund. Go and talk to him. Here's his number. And they connect you. Like I just had this major dental player just round up a whole bunch of investors for me. He's like, oh yeah, we'll talk to this guy. And, it's like 2 weeks. I talked to this guy, cuts a check, boom. It's like crazy. That's like America's special.
So tell me something about Lincoln Harris that most of the people watching right now don't know yet.
Well, most of you probably don't know that I didn't wear shoes to school until grade 6.
Wow. No shit, that's crazy. I mean, you did mention, your humble beginnings, and your family going bankrupt and all that sort of thing, but literally until 6th grade?
Yeah, well, not because we couldn't afford it. It's just like no one did. The whole school, no one wore shoes. So, and to this day, what's funny is to this day, I hate wearing shoes because it makes my feet feel hot. I think it was because I didn't wear them. So I'm thinking, my feet are hot. So I'm always taking my shoes off. For an early part of my teaching career, I used to take them off on stage and just like walk around in my socks because I hated wearing shoes. But anyway, I'm trying to be more sophisticated these days. So
man. I had no idea.
I learned to drive a car when I was 6.
Seems a little young.
Yeah, I'm not on the road. It was illegal, but we had a farm. So, drive around the farm. I was 6. You look underneath the steering wheel and over the dashboard because you couldn't, It wasn't full enough. So, I should stop exposing things because you'll all think I'm a country bumpkin, which is actually true.
I already knew that. Yeah. You share a story about the sauna in Finland recently. So, I know a little bit about you, man. So, hey, man, when you look at the next generation of dentists, like what gives you the most optimism and what concerns you the most moving forward as an industry?
Look, so the first thing is that old guys like us like to complain about the new generation and how things were better in our day and blah, blah,
Human
blah.
nature.
And actually, if you look through history, there's records of Plato complaining about young people. So old people have been complaining about young people for at least 3,000 to 4,000 years.
Sure.
But if you look at the Olympics, the current generation are the fastest, strongest, most accurate, most precise, like across every sporting field. So So we have this like dichotomy where we think, oh, young people are lazy and blah, blah, blah. And yet the Olympics are the best ever. So I see dentists now, I'm optimistic because dentists now are learning more advanced procedures better with better skills and better technology than ever before, because they can go, like when you and I were at school, how many soft tissue grafts did you see when you were at dental school? Probably zero.
Yeah.
Didn't even know they could be done. Now they graduate and they're surrounded by social media showing them the very latest and greatest of everything that's possible. So they know what's possible. So that's a great bit. The difficult bit is that the amount of mental health stress from knowing how good a dentist can be and how good you are right now, and not understanding the 25 years of pain and suffering to get from where you are now and to where, like, you don't, when you're sitting in a lecture and you got some Italian in elegant clothing showing you something that's beyond belief, or, my friend Ricardo Kern from Curitiba in southern Brazil, he'll come in, he'll show a case is like 9 millimeters of recession, the ridge is gone, you say that's impossible. Next thing, he's rebuilt the entire ridge, he's got the tissue back and it's looking gorgeous. And the level of discipline that has gone into that skill, like the self-discipline and the just effort and the pain and the delayed gratification, like earning so little money. When I met him, he was charging like $600 a day to speak. I don't know what it is now. It's probably, 10, it might be 10,000. I don't know what it is. Like he's one of the best speakers in the world. But like the delayed gratification. And so you can't see that when you're watching a lecture. But worse, you can't feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we all have our own paths to walk, and they're all a little bit different. But, I think that one of the great things about our industry, and that I've always thought, even when I was a young dentist, is there's always somebody out there doing the thing that you want to do. If it's been done, it can be done. And you just got to get in the right room. You got to be with people who are doing or have done what you want to do. And that just makes dentistry a profession where anything's possible. And, I love that you're making so much more possible from, the comfort of your own, dental practice and dental operatory, whether you're 1,000 practice group or a single dentist, in southern Indiana, who wants to learn how to, do better dentistry. So, go ahead.
Yeah. And look, it's not just because we do it, and it's not just to try and make it less expensive or to make it cheaper or to make it, comfortable. You don't have to travel. It's actually just better. Like if you want to learn to fly a plane in a simulator, the simulator should look like the plane.
Yeah, right.
Like you don't want to go to the supermarket. You got that little put $1 in the machine and you got like the little fake plane. That's not going to do. Okay, it doesn't look anything like. And so if you want to learn to do a procedure, going to a Hilton Garden Inn and practicing the procedure on a typodont on a tabletop with no water spray, because you can't have water spray in a hotel because it makes a mess. Doesn't really teach you. It's like reading a book and then going, okay, now go and fly the plane. Like it's not a simulation. So the big reason why we do it is because it's better at skills. It's not always better at fun. Like if you want to have a lot of fun, sure, go to the Chicago midwinter and go and get drunk at night, have a giant party, whatever. Okay, but if you want to build a skill, that is not the place to do it.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, man, when we're sitting down 10 years from now, like having a great bottle of wine, what will have had to happen over those 10 years to feel like, you've really had a huge impact and changed dentistry?
I think by then, every dentist in the world will buy a Ripe Global mannequin when they graduate and log into our platform, and absolutely everyone will be logged in.
Woo. Man, doesn't get any bigger than that. Every dentist in the world. That's I love the ambition. I love the vision, and I love that you just spent 2 hours, talking with us about all of this. I mean, we could go for another 2 hours really easily, but hey, man, I really appreciate you sharing the story and kind of your vision for the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, man. Look forward to the next conversation. Definitely see you at Dykema in a couple of weeks. But hey, anybody listening today who feels like they got some value out of this, look up Lincoln. He's all over social media, ripeglobal.com, changing the industry. And if you got anything out of this podcast, please share it with your colleagues and friends. And we'll see you again next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
This has been the Foundation Dental Podcast. If this conversation was valuable, share it with a colleague who's building something meaningful. For more leadership resources, visit foundationdentalalliance.com.